long-term effects that are bothersome, and not knowing what's wrong with you when you were otherwise seemingly healthy beforehand. That can be you know an issue, and stressful and causing anxiety.
This is the Wholesome Orator. Faith, food, lessons learned, Black Greek life. Thanks for returning. Welcome if it's your first time. Let's begin. Eric? Hi, I'm Javon,
I'm Keisha.
and we're back for part 2 of what is coronavirus? How do viruses work? All right, so if you haven't seen the first part of this, check it out. It's not necessary. We're just kind of building on
Yes, it is
other
necessary.
topics.
Please watch and
No,
subscribe
I mean,
and like.
if you want to look at part 2 first and then part 1, hey,
Just go back and make sure that you look at it
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah. So let's talk about herd immunity. So we hear about herd immunity. People, if enough people get it, they'll die off or they'll be stronger. And
You'll have enough people to where the virus will stop,
yeah,
basically, or stop mutating or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
I don't believe that. Like it's a pandemic. It's all over the world,
Yeah,
and it mutates
it is mutating.
just like the like the flu. I mean, you get different strands. Now, flu is nothing like coronavirus, but in a sense that it adapts and changes into something else or something more powerful. That is what it is. So to think that it's just gonna die out, I don't believe that.
Yeah, and I think that's the importance of having enough people to be vaccinated to
Yeah, because
slow that mutation. And I don't think people quite understand the importance of the vaccination, because if you think we're just gonna get back to normal life just because we have a vaccine, but you don't have enough people that have the vaccine, and so the virus is just gonna keep mutating.
yeah, and I mean,
It's like a never-ending cycle, and I'm not quite sure if people quite understand that, but
yeah, and that's the thing. Like people hear like 70%. That's considerable amount. Is it though? You'd have to get up to, I would think, at least 90%, where 1 out of every 10 people doesn't have the vaccine for it to slow down and completely stop. And then the behavior of people. I mean, concerts and sports events are coming up, and people are having venues of parties and stuff. And so it's like, okay, even if 10% of the people did not get the vaccine for a sports event, 50,000 people, 4,000 people,
yeah. And this is just my opinion. I personally think it was too much too fast. Didn't quite have enough people, the percentage of people to be vaccinated for us to be like, well, we're gonna open up, and if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And if you haven't been vaccinated, continue to wear your mask. Well, you go back to human behavior. I don't know what. I mean, I understand it. At some point, you still have to give people autonomy to make their own decisions. But you go back to this human behavior thing of you're already having issues with people that are arguing that they don't even want to wear a mask. And so now you're going to, without any kind of checks and balances, really, you're basically working off of people in the honor system. And I've, worked in healthcare settings long enough to know that sometimes the human behavior is not the best. And the honor system, sad to say, doesn't always work.
Yeah, and that's...
And I think this is the ramifications of that and the decisions of people.
And that's just human behavior too. I wouldn't necessarily go spiritual with you, but people in history want to do, they're selfish, and they want to do what they want to do, and that's fine. I mean, like you can tell a 5-year-old, hey, I'm going to leave you in the backyard with the pool. Don't jump in the pool. Don't play in the water. But at some point, that child is going to be like, oh, I know my limitations. I can swim, or I just want to jump in and jump out. Like, it's just going to happen. Yeah.
And let's just touch on the fact that, and I understand that people are still confused about it. So let's just touch on the fact of, if you have the vaccine, you can still get COVID. You can still contract COVID. It's possible for you to contract COVID, have very mild symptoms, and pass it to someone else that is not vaccinated, and they end up in the hospital. I just wanted to touch on that because I think a lot of people are still quite confused about the fact that, and we always try to, we hear people, they have these talking points on Facebook of, see, I told you that vaccine didn't work. They ended up with COVID anyway, but they're not sick. They're not in the hospital. And of course, there are breakthrough cases. But for the most part, those breakthrough cases, you don't have, a lot of people, ended up in the hospital on ventilators. I don't know what the percentage is. That would be something, to look up.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I think I just wanted to touch on that point of, just because you're vaccinated, you can still get COVID, and certainly pass that on because, I just think it's important to know that, and to know that it's when you're out in public and you don't know the behaviors of other people, it's wise to, especially if you're in big crowds, to still wear that mask and social distance and then wash your hands and all that good stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that point to make people aware that, yeah, even though you have the vaccine, you can still.
Yeah, and we don't want to frighten anybody or anything. It's just that, like, that's what it is. Like, people get vaccines so that your antibodies are already kind of in your body, ready to fight. Kind of like some people take vitamin C to boost their immunity up and stuff like that.
So the effects aren't as severe as, you're having a low immune system or whatever the case may be. Just like with the flu shot. You can get the flu shot and still get the flu.
But you won't end up, get pneumonia and dying, though. I mean, most people won't.
Right. But yeah, so it's just like any other vaccine. I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next thing. Long-term effects of
COVID.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. Like I said, I go back to, I would rather take my chances with the vaccine that I know, because I know that there have been scientists since 2002 that have been working on finding some kind of cure, whether it be a cure or a vaccine for the virus that causes COVID-19, which is coronavirus. As opposed to this COVID-19 that was, in the beginning, it baffled doctors trying to figure out how to treat these patients that were coming into the hospital. And so with that being said, you don't know what that does. You don't know what the virus does to the human body. You don't know what the vaccine does to the human body for the most part. But I would rather take my chances with that. I have heard stories. I've heard stories of coworkers that have had COVID, and friends that have had COVID, and they're still having these lingering effects months and months later of, I was perfectly fine before I got COVID, and now, I'm having all these issues, my toes are turning blue, I'm having all these health issues now, and the doctors don't quite know what's going on with me. But the common denominator is that at some point they were diagnosed with COVID. They survived. They didn't need to be hospitalized for it, or put on a ventilator, but they're now having these long-term effects that are bothersome, and you're not knowing what's wrong with you when you were otherwise seemingly healthy beforehand. That can be an issue, and stressful, and causing anxiety and stuff. And so
the thing that I would struggle with is, how does that make, and it may be me because I'm in my mid-40s, but how does that affect me later on? Not oh, I've got a lingering cough or I've got scar tissue, but let's say, for instance, I get cancer or diabetes or have some kind of other like heart issues. So you couple heart issue with something going on from lingering effects of COVID, and I might have a bigger issue on my hand. I might have extra medication for different things that I wouldn't have normally needed. I might have extra side effects from it. Like it could just kind of snowball into anything.
Right. And especially with your lungs, like you just don't know how much that has, taken years off of your life from, COVID-19, and people that have had, especially those that have been on ventilators, or that were in the hospital for 14 days to a month. You don't quite know how that, is going to pan out 10 years from now. Like you said, if, God forbid, you end up with a diagnosis like diabetes or something else, how does the fact that you had this virus years ago affect your outcome of being able to manage having, a comorbidity or something like that. So it's a lot to think about it. Like I said, I understand that people want their own autonomy when it comes to making decisions for their bodies and stuff. I just wish, it would come with some education that, I don't want to say that it's sound, but not just say something because it sounds good, or you're not just going against the grain because you feel like this machine is telling you need to get this vaccine. It's one thing to really, and I know there are a lot of people that are like that are really thinking, hard about whether or not they should get the vaccine because, they're really concerned, and, they're doing their due diligence. But I also think that it's just a no-brainer for me, to be quite honest with you. And I just don't quite understand it. Why the hesitation?
So we're gonna move a little bit more swiftly because I don't necessarily want to make 3 videos or a super long video. But good points. Good points. We don't know how long the antibodies work. You know, I mean, with other vaccines, especially with children, you know when to give them a booster and stuff. And that's only because we've been doing this for so long. And so I think what I see coming is you'll have these people that got both of their vaccines. Then summertime hits. Yeah, you know, we're doing what we want to do. Then it comes down to getting a booster. Some people may not come back. Some people will. And so then that's a whole nother issue of how many people are really
going to come back for a booster.
And yeah, like who's really protected.
Right.
And in the like way, people who get coronavirus get better from it is fine and maybe have mild symptoms. It's like, you know, are you good for 3 months? Are you good for 6 months?
Right.
Or are you gonna, you know, are you susceptible to catching it 2 weeks after you got completely well? You know, like
right. And that's kind of that too is just kind of, I don't know, it's still kind of illogical to me. Like you have some people that are like, oh, I had COVID and I survived. No, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I survived it. If I get it again, I'll be fine. And that's not necessarily the case.
It's not a cold.
No, it's not. So that is just, again, it's baffling to me that people are actually thinking like that. Like, no. Like, let's just put this into perspective. Like, it's a virus that killed, and I'll keep going back to this, over 500,000 people within a year. That's just that alone. We're not even talking about the flu and the other things. And like you said, yeah, some people might have died, you know, if, you know, just because of whatever. But there's still a lot of people.
And the numbers don't look any better.
There's still a lot of people. And so the fact that, you know, oh, you only had mild symptoms the first time and you didn't go to the hospital and you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get the vaccine. Well, I mean, and let us just put this out there. We both are pro-vaccine. So with that being said.
But we're also pro-choice is your choice to do it or not do it. But then it's like there's a responsibility of your behavior.
Right.
You know, if you don't get a vaccine, please don't stand 6 feet close to me and wear a mask.
Please stand 6 feet away from him. That's what he meant to say.
What did I say?
You said 6 feet close.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, no closer than 6 feet.
Right.
You know, and nobody knows. We don't walk around with badges that,
right.
or barcodes on our forehead like, hey,
right,
I am not vaccinated.
Yeah.
But I feel healthy. Like, no. Step back, please.
Please and thank you. Like, if you're not in my household and I don't know you.
And then let's talk about households. And we got to move on. But, like, yeah, you know, if you're single and you're dating somebody and, you know, they might say, yeah, I don't really be around people. I just go around my best friends.
Again, human behavior.
You know, I don't know where your best friends been.
Right.
And so you're with these 4 or 5 people,
and then
who are with 4 or 5 other people,
and you don't know how many people God knows they're with. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all because you trust people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of something that we've had to. And I tell my husband, and it's kind of bad, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't trust anybody. Yeah,
we just saw a family member. I mean, and I think he's vaccinated, but you know, like, we just saw a family member and shouted out to him like, hey, and the first thing he did was put his mask up and walked over to the car. Like, I don't.
Well,
He's like, He's like, I don't know where you been.
Yeah, I know you're a nurse, but yeah, I still don't trust you. But yeah.
Okay. You good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. COVID is not a cold.
No, it's not.
Nor is it
the flu.
The flu. The flu is a virus, and it does mutate.
And the flu can kill as well.
It can, yes. But it's nowhere near.
No, the odds of you dying from the flu as opposed to the coronavirus. Again,
or even catching it. I mean, like
those are the odds I just don't want.
Like we would go to work and somebody has the flu. Oh, where's Bobby today? Oh, Bobby has the flu. Oh, okay. You think nothing of it. Then somebody else might get the flu.
And hey,
you still going to work, and it's fine because you think, okay, they're gonna survive that. Right. Or I'm not gonna get it. But with coronavirus, you don't have two people catching COVID-19. You got half the office catching it. And
those are just, I don't even want to think about that. But yeah.
Not our offices that we work with, but
Right. Yeah. Those are just odds. I'm just not trying to even, and I think I got the flu like 2 years ago, like maybe a year before COVID. Or was it in 2019? Anyway, and I don't think I got the vaccine either. But after that, I started getting the vaccine just because I recognized, because of my age, don't want to take the chance either. Like I said, you can get the flu and wake up dead. So yeah.
Is that copyrighted? Wake up dead?
By who?
By somebody I can't say on YouTube.
No,
because they have a YouTube.
No, too. I don't think so. But whatever. Anyway, like I said, you can get the flu and wake up dead. So, advocate for a flu shot as well. But like I said, I do understand that there are some people that can't take vaccines for many reasons. Having allergies and reactions and things of that nature. But anyway. That's neither here nor there.
All right, I want to go to the next thing because battery is getting low on this fancy camera that is really good. HIV is an example of a pandemic and a virus, and it's everywhere. In every country. However, it's spread by bodily fluids, and there's no guarantee. I wouldn't say go out there and have sex without protection or anything like that. But I'm just saying, HIV really did spread fast. Camera's about to go out. HIV spread fast, but now you have an airborne virus that's going everywhere faster and faster before people even know they have coronavirus. So that's one thing I want to point out. And
in the end, just make healthy choices and healthy decisions for your life and your loved ones, and keep yourself safe, and try to keep your loved ones safe, and whatever decision you make, just know that it's not just you and yourself, and that's it. It's we're all in this together. So just make wise choices, I guess.
Yeah. Get the vaccine, and
if you ever so choose to.
And wear a mask.
And stay 6 feet.
Or not get it and still wear a mask.
And wash your hands.
And stay 6 feet.
Please and thank you.
And wash your hands.